I want to tell you guys about this concept called booming. This concept is originating from Age of Empires, and it basically means collecting a lot of resources and creating a strong economy. After you have those resources at your fingertips, you can start to create stuff. In that game, you create buildings, soldiers, and in FL Studio, we can do the same thing. I want to set you guys a little example here how I would start a track. I usually have my phone with me almost all the time, and if I am at work, for example, I might get an idea for a track. I just basically open up Google Docs or something similar and start to type down some stuff. But this is how it usually goes. This is a little different for everyone, but I think you guys will get the hang of it real fast. First of all, you might want to describe the overall idea of the track. Let's say I have an idea for a gabber track. Think about the idea, like what kind of gabber track would I want to create? What kind of sounding? Do I want to create more of that modern sounding gabber or actual old sounding gabber? Well, let's say it like this. We want to create an actual old sounding gabber track. What style of gabber track we would want to create? Okay, now we have a basic concept, old sounding gabber track with simple hands-up style melody. That's not much, but it's something. You can describe the track in very high amount of detail if you want. So as you can see, this is not much information, but this information enables us to gather those resources and to start booming, now that we know loosely what do we want to create. So next up, I like to create these numbered lists. Here we are going to describe the elements of the track. What do we need or what do we want? So first of all, I usually start with the kick. So something like this. Old school style kick, similar to some artist you really like. I'm not gonna type down any artist names here because this is just an example. Now that we have the kick style, that's already a good thing. You can of course add links here for tracks that you might want to imitate regarding the kick, but I'm not usually going to do that. Next up, what kind of drumming we would like to use? Do we need some specific drum samples or are basic 909 samples enough? We can go back to our core idea here. Here I type down a simple hands-up melody. So now you might want to think like, what kind of synthesizer sounds do I want to use? Or is there some old school sounding synthesizer plugin emulation thing that could work nicely? If there is, type down the plugin name here, or type down the preset name or the style of the synth. Okay, I typed down old Silent One preset banks for leads, edit them if needed. As you can see, this is super loose representation of the thing, but this is something super useful when you actually start to produce, because now you can go back to your text file if you are starting to create the leads and be like, I wanted to use Silent One presets. Well, let's open up Silent One and force ourselves to create the lead with Silent One. So it kind of narrows down the amount of plugins you are going to go through. At the same time, it kind of makes the production process faster by locking you down into one plugin. And it also makes you more creative. Now, maybe the vocal, is there something like some specific vocal sample packs you like or something like that? I just type down sample pack name, so this can represent any vocal sample pack that you personally really like or something along those lines. Next up, we might want to think about the arrangement of the track. I type down arrangement, then I start to type in song names that I really like, and then I just basically copy the arrangement from those songs. So yeah, this would be some sort of a song. Now we can type more stuff here. For example, the atmosphere of the song. Do you want to use something atmospheric, like thunder sounds, rain sounds, I don't know, chirping of the birds, who knows? Let's type in rain atmosphere, just to have something here. If there is some specific plugin for atmospheres you really like, type it down I'm just going to type down maybe Reactor because it has a lot of nice ensembles where you can create these atmospheres. And as you can see, you can go on and on and on with this list. So let's leave it to 6 things now. Next things I usually like to gather. Type down ref and choose at least 3 songs. These songs here should be something similar to your original core idea. Now the next thing we are going to do with the reference tracks is something like this. You are going to listen through all of the tracks, and for every track take like at least 2 different things you really like about the track. It can be like maybe the atmosphere or the melody or the vocal or vocal mixing or lead mixing or mastering, something like that. I'm gonna just do this. Okay, this might be a sentence typed down in English, I think so. So type down things you like about the reference tracks and make it easy to find those things afterwards. This is stupid helpful because in the process of listening to those tracks, you might get even more inspired by some things in some of these tracks. So something like this. Now, this is a simple text file that takes around 30 minutes to create if you include finding the reference songs and listening to those songs. Now what I usually like to do next is I start to gather the silent presets, the vocal, might download or create the atmospheres. After you have created the kick and gathered all of these samples, make it easy to access those samples. In FL Studio it's of course super easy because you can just drop the samples into the channel rack and access them there. I would actually recommend to create these groups. I have a video on my YouTube channel about creating these groups inside the channel racks, so I might link that in somewhere here. Remember guys, this is just an overall concept to start to use, and you can edit this concept to your liking. Thank you for watching the video. If you want to support my work, please check out my Patreon. You will also get access to a huge amount of exclusive tutorials from my Patreon that you cannot find anywhere else. Those are mainly hardcore music production tutorials at the moment. One exception to this rule is the current Track from Scratch season, which is the season number 3. If you want to hear the end result of this Track from Scratch season, please check out the link in the description to my SoundCloud. The track is named This. If you wanna learn how this track was made, check out my Patreon. If you wanna support me other ways, you can of course check out my website, subscribe to my YouTube channel, like the video, check out my Instagram, and so on. All the links to my social medias are in the description. We will see you guys in the next video.